Hey you guys, so let's get into two stocks today, okay? I want to talk about Oracle and I want to talk about Alibaba. Now, these last maybe 2-3 videos, and of course, some a little further back, I've been talking a lot about quantum computing and, how it ties to AI and all of that stuff, okay? Alibaba is another reason why we're going to be revisiting that, as well as Oracle. Now, we also see what else is going on with Oracle, where they have taken ownership and they are in this partnership or this deal for TikTok to run TikTok's algorithm, and they will be responsible for training the new algorithm alongside other investors. Okay, well, other investors, but Oracle will control this new TikTok algorithm. Conversation for another day. But when that news took place, we saw Oracle, pretty much rallying. And then Alibaba has just announced that they are increasing their AI infrastructure investment to about $53 billion. Okay. And with Oracle also has some information that just came out, article where Oracle, SoftBank, and there's another investor where they are partnering with OpenAI to build 5 data centers as part of this $500 billion deal for this Stargate. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this news is going to kind of, of course, have some sort of a ripple effect and some sort of reaction in other stocks as well. So even if you weren't to get into Alibaba or Oracle or whoever, we can go right back to where I was just talking about, looking at quantum computing stocks, data center stocks, that facilitates like AI and all of these things, their infrastructure, all of that. All right, so I want to go to the charts and I want to look at kind of what we're looking at a little bit in terms of a few levels that I want you guys to take into consideration and why. I will mostly be talking about swinging these trades, not day trades. Now, if you want to day trade it, cool. There are some heavy levels here that I've been watching that could be used on, a quick day trade plan, but I'm mostly looking at swings right now. So let's go to the charts. We're going to look at Oracle and we're going to look at Alibaba. And these are just some levels that I want you guys to write down and overall keep these two on your radar. Let's start with Alibaba first, okay? Now, I've been watching Alibaba for quite a while, okay? It's been long before we even got up to this $171 at where it closed at on Friday. This first line here was something that I made way back simply because I was waiting for this level here to break before I made a move on it, and it broke it, but I missed it, and I haven't been really coming back to Alibaba as much as I was looking at it. But this was that first level. I'm gonna take this line off and I'm gonna get a box to kind of put down in this area. You see this up in here? Bring that down a little bit. So it's mostly like this little area right up in here that I wanted to kind of see a break above to get into some calls and to ride it back up to that 146. This was a long-term play that I was looking at, but what I was looking for a break above this little area here, and we did break above it. We tested that 146 perfectly, and this is the weekly time frame, mind you, and I still missed it all of those the entire time. Okay, if you're new here or if you're new to the stocks or new to the charts, each one of these candles took a whole week to form. So every time for this right here is a whole 5 trading days here. Okay, it tried to get above that and it did not break above it. It came back to this little area here, still didn't get above it. Again, a little bit up there, not as high, and it still didn't get above it. This lets you know how long this thing took to even break above that, and I still missed it. Okay, so but it did hit those levels that I had up there perfectly. Okay, and all of these little levels that I have here were here before I even saw the news of what took place. So it's like I already had some sort of plan for it, but I never revisited. So as you guys can see, we got above this little heavy level here at around 146 after we broke that. So we're kind of off this level down here right now. So this is the weekly time frame. Okay, this right here, this candle was around February, so it lets you know how long it took to even break above this. This right here was in March where it touched it again. Here is also March, So all of this here is like February to March. Okay, so not a very, very long time, but it's still enough time to show how heavy this little level was as a resistance level. And when it finally broke, then we can probably expect it to be retested and it could act as a cushion. Now, you're new to the market, you're new to the charts. The more a certain level is touched, the more it's hit, the more it's tested, the heavier the level becomes, okay? So if I take this and we go to, let's see, the daily time frame, okay? And it can kind of show you a little bit more touches here over the days on that, this level. So this right here is way back in February, as it just showed. Now, on the weekly time frame, okay? So it's just letting you kind of see all of those touches at this level and why it would be a heavy level, and why I am personally looking to see if we could possibly retest this level. But we're at 171. So even though I'm going to keep my eye on this level, I'm now looking for a retest back at about 166 on Alibaba to make my move to get into loans. Okay, because this is where we are, which is right up in here at about 180. So we went as high as $180.16. So if we can get back to 166, then I would look at that as my potential entry to get into loans on Alibaba, with a potential target of about 180 as my exit. Okay, so those are just two levels for you to watch, because until we break below that one, let's see, until we can break back below this 166, it'll kind of open the door to possibly retest this lower 146. But of course, it's going to be some hurdles to even get over before we can get all the way down there. Okay, so my main goal, or my main targets, which will be here at about 166 for my ideal entry, and then about 180 on my exit. But I likely will probably get like anywhere between about 2 to 3 contracts. That way, if we do retest down here, I can just kind of take profit along the way. And then once we get up here, because as more news come out about Oracle, investing in TikTok, controlling the TikTok algorithm, and all of that surrounding TikTok, we kind of got an extension on the deadline for everything to finally be finalized. But it seems like everything is pretty much, dry. So it's a done deal. So we just kind of use that news to kind of continue watching Oracle. All right. So that it's just on that. Those are the levels that I'm watching. Nothing too heavy. If you're looking to day trade this one, then of course you can use this as to find your levels. And then like I would do is go to like that 15-minute time frame and kind of use that to pretty much watch my trade. But honestly, the levels are still pretty much the same unless you're trying to get in and out. I would look to, let me see, come up here. So where we are now at 171, which is about here. So I would look at about 169 as my support, and probably right above that, let's see, right up in this area here at about 172 as my resistance. So I will look for an entry here and an exit here if I were to do a day trade on this one, or hold it for about a day or two at most. And then we break above that, then it opens the door to retest that 175 and so forth. Okay, so I'm not interested in day trading this one. I'm only looking at swing trading. So that's that. Those are some levels to watch for it, for a swing, a retest, and then if you're going to be day trading, just something for you to be able to watch come Monday, depending on what it looks like in pre-market and depending on how it opens. Okay, so those are some levels to keep in mind. So that's Alibaba. And now we're going to go to Oracle. Now, Oracle had a gap. Let's see where we are on that gap with Oracle. Let's see. So it's still there, but as you guys can see, we done kind of came down a little bit from, let's see, we're on the 15 minutes. So actually let me go back to the daily time frame where I was looking at my levels for this one. Okay, so yeah, there we go. There's the gap. Now, we would really have to get a major pullback on this one. Personally, I would rather see a pullback before I go too long on this one. So let's mark up the gap here. Let me go a little bit further over to see what we kind of working with. And by the way, the market has been in some all-time highs across the board. Everything from SPY, QQQ, everything has been at highs. And a lot of times I don't like to trade highs because we don't have a whole lot of data to go by at the top to say whether I can go back a year or two on the charts and see where some heavy support, resistance, or even supply and demand is at. Because when that happens, you know, we just kind of have to be gentle if we're going to be into calls, and we got to kind of wait for some pullbacks to some heavy levels before we really make our move. Okay, so this was the interesting thing that I saw on Oracle that I was really hoping to see Friday, if they could break this level right up in here at that 283. And you guys see we touched that level perfectly. This is right at the top of the gap. If come Monday it can break below this little 283 level, then it can open the door for some lower levels and possibly, just possibly, get back down here to this 259. Okay, so I would say let's go to like the 4-hour to try to get us some better levels, because the only thing I'm looking at on this one is I'm scared to really get in up here without filling the gap first, because we are right back at it. And so there's really no levels down here to really touch on to say, okay, where could it be going to the downside before it start pushing back up? Because you guys see there's literally nothing here. We've been at $44, $54, and it's starting to make its way up. So it's not a whole lot for us to work with. That's why I really want to see the gap filled before making my move on Oracle, okay? Or at least somewhere around this area here, which is we'll retest this old resistance, okay? So we can test that, and if it breaks below this to really fill the gap, then it's a done deal. I'm definitely in this one, probably looking at leaps on it between like January, February expiration. So definitely got to plan this one out accordingly to see how it go. Make sure ain't no fake outs on this Oracle and TikTok deal. So if it does, or any bad news come out on that, we can definitely begin to see Oracle pouring back down, because that whole deal is the reason why it's skyrocketing like this. Okay, so keep it in mind. Keep this little support that we kind of working with right here at 283 in mind, and then just keep the gap in mind from here to, what is that, 259, where we had that little older resistance down at the bottom. Okay, so that'll be the main thing here for me. The gap, however you trade gaps, that's cool. And then however the market opens up on Monday, and if we can get a bounce here to push back up, there may be some work there for a short-term trade versus a long-term trade. So I might be looking at a day trade on this one, but I'm still scared to go too long until we can get this gap filled and see what it does here. All right, so with that AI news on Oracle, with that $500 billion in this Stargate project they got with OpenAI, also keep your eyes on the quantum computing stocks. Let's see, quantum computing is going to be, which is QUBT, is going to be a heavy one that I'm going to be watching. I have shares in all of these, and I have some contracts that don't expire until December on these. So I've been holding these for a month. If you saw the video I posted a month ago on those quantum computing stocks, you'll know just how well they did. Okay, they're up 31 to 100%. So those things are still rolling. So keep those all on your radar with the more AI news that you see come out. All right, so this is just the biggest one right here. Let's see, SoundHound is going to be another one that I want you guys to really watch. It's finally retesting some of those lower levels that I was looking for to kind of make another entry, as well as averaging down on some of my current position to ride this thing back up to about, what is that, $19.20. $15 is nothing. You got $30. You can get a quick 2 shares. Well, actually, no. So it's $15.94. I highly recommend kind of going into this one with like about $50 just to get you some shares on your hand, and then go to that option chain and make your move there as well, because it's going to be damn worth it. Okay, give it another month, give it another 30 days, just as we did from the last video. and you'll definitely see the rewards from that. Because I would probably say I kind of had a target for about $30 on this one before the year is out. We're gonna have a fight trying to get there, but we can get this thing up above, to break above that $20 level. We can definitely expect $30 by the end of the year. Okay, so same thing that kind of happened with IonQ, Big Bear AI, and all of them. We see how they're moving, so it just really lets us know. Because right here, what is that? $24. Let me see. $24.87 is another little level up here we would have to get above, and then we just continue to push back up. Okay, so we can get above that, we can continue pushing. By year's end, I'm really pushing for $30 on this one, so another one to keep on your radar. All right, so there will be a time. Use your Robinhood apps, Webull, whatever you're trading on, and it'll show you all of the stocks that are similar to it. So you can pick and choose between the ones you want to research, you want to hold and grab some shares in, and the ones that you want to trade. Okay, because long term, by the way, not day trading. I'm talking about long term, December expirations, January expiration, so forth. You're gonna need time on your side to really get a maximum profit on these trades. All right, so with that, I will see you guys in the next one.